The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Beach Talk Radio, episode number 57. We are broadcasting live from Fort Myers Beach. Pete's Time Out, episode number 57. You look dashing this morning, wife. You are stunning.
Dear, please.
What?
Those are the loud sounds over too long periods. Damages your
I
hearing.
know it's going to be like a noise show, so you're getting in the groove about the noise, right? We're going to talk about the noise. You watched some council meeting last night about the noise. Is that what it was?
I did. I watched it this morning at dark 30.
Yeah. I got up at 1 o'clock today. 1 o'clock. And it was so funny because every Friday night I try to go to bed early so I can get a good 6 hours sleep. But I got like 4 hours sleep, and then my eyes are like, they have toothpicks in them. And then, wouldn't you know, our daughter, who now lives in Chattanooga, says, "Are you up yet?" Right at 1:05. She couldn't sleep either.
She was up early, yeah.
So I did my 40-mile bike ride this morning, starting at 3:30. Met up with Nick, who did a few miles out in Gateway.
Nice.
And yep, it was a lovely day in the neighborhood.
I did nothing this morning.
Yeah? Well, you usually exercise in the afternoon.
I do.
So if you were somebody that didn't exercise at all, I think I'd have to boot you to the curb. You can't do that. You have to have some kind of exercise regimen.
Why?
Yeah.
For your health?
Yeah,
or-
you don't want to balloon up.
Oh, see, you're
Get
not
big.
talking about health.
Well, health, if you work out, it's healthy. It's good for you. So, but I also don't want you to balloon up, and you don't want to balloon up.
Please,
But anyway-
let's not talk about balloons.
Then we'll save that for the end of the show. Don't forget, by the way, folks, Popeye Palooza is tomorrow. We want to make sure we let everybody know that's tomorrow. It's going to be at the Beach Bar starting at 11 o'clock when they open up. So go out and support the Popeye Palooza, which is a fundraiser for the kids on the beach, the youth sports on the beach. We also want to thank our sponsor, FMB Designs and Remodeling, a lovely sign that
Yes.
Nikki did for us.
I
And
know.
we're going to put it right there in the back. All show long, Nikki. Thanks a lot. Megan
I have to
Heil's
get
going
a
to be our
hold of
first
her.
guest. What?
I have to get a hold
Well,
of her.
her phone number's on the stack
I
of
know.
cards we have
I
here.
know. I have a question for her about something.
About our house? Are you
Not
thinking
about
about
our
doing
house.
some damage, more
Somebody
damage?
Somebody else that is interested. So.
Okay. Look at that. Dan Alice showed up with his lovely wife. It's a big show here today. We have Megan Heil's going to come on a little bit, and we have our friends from the Florida Podcast Network. We want to make sure we say hello to everybody listening on the Florida Podcast Network. And those guys are going to be here for the second half of the show, and we're going to talk about all the stuff they're doing. They got to do some cool stuff they told us about already.
They have a great podcast and a great time doing the podcast.
Yeah.
That's my dream, traveling and doing fun stuff and talking about it.
They're driving around Florida in an RV, and they're staying at Red Coconut today, and they were in Punta Gorda or Port Charlotte eating crabs last night. So
Slapping crabs.
what does that mean?
I guess they'll have to tell you about
Slapping crabs. I never heard of that before, but I'm not a fish eater, so maybe that's why.
it. Or a crustacean eater.
Yeah, is that some kind of fish? Now, speaking of fish, did you hear about the dolphin?
I
didn't hear anything about it. Some dolphin, what?
Go ahead.
Some dolphin came ashore?
With a tube, intubated, with like a hose from like a shower.
What does that mean? Was there some kind of hose in the water and the dolphin accidentally...
Impaled itself. Yeah.
Is it okay?
It did not survive.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. I didn't know that. I didn't hear anything about the dolphin.
Sad.
All right. So Megan Heil is going to be our first guest today. She's working her way over from the crowd because she's such an important person. She's not paying any attention. Come on over, Megan. There you are. I said, Megan, watch for the signs because you're going to be the first guest on the show. Of course, she's not paying attention over there. Ladies and gentlemen, back by popular demand, there she is, everybody. Big hand for our first guest, Megan.
We had some friends show up.
Look at that. Now, Megan, I have to remind everybody.
Lord.
You were on once before, and it really was bad on my part because even Anita, the mayor, was on. She was like, "Your sound sucks. Fix the sound. It sucks. Megan's great, but your sound sucks."
Your sound is too
It's been a
loud.
while.
Yeah.
Can you get the noise ordinance people down here and issue him a ticket?
So
that's a. I don't know if I'm allowed to say what. I don't want to step in that one.
Don't step. No, you don't have to step.
So Megan's got a cool job too. So let's talk about first what your job is. Like
Which one?
Well, I've tried to get in touch with you there for the last 3 weeks, and you're all over the country, all over the world. What's that all about?
Well, I've got two things I do. One is a software company that I own that writes software for mechanical service contractors. But the one that's been keeping me travel is Reef Box, which is a subscription box company for scuba divers. So we've been going to scuba shows. We've been doing boat shows. Gets me underwater a little bit more often, down with the fishies, where I like to go take pictures and such of that sort. And just it's we have a couple hundred subscribers per month. We send a box out too, but it also, it's kind of fun keeping people excited about scuba diving.
Now, how did you get involved in all the underwater stuff?
I got my first scuba cert, 23 years ago now.
Wow.
My whole family is scuba divers, even from the Midwest. We've always been around water, in water, and scuba diving, and it's a whole nother world down there that it's just fascinating and beautiful and that I absolutely love. So coming here to South Florida, we have the ability to, can leave our house at 7 in the morning and be on a dive boat for the afternoon right there in the Keys. The Keys is I believe the third largest barrier reef in the world is right here in our backyard. And so, it's very easy for us to go play and have fun underwater. And I really do like photography, so I take a lot of underwater pictures and such of that sort. So.
Where is the best spot you've ever, where you got the best pictures underwater?
Well, it depends on what you're looking for.
Colorful fish, different kinds of stuff down there.
Artiste over here.
Almost all my diving has been in the Caribbean. I haven't done any Pacific diving or Indonesia or any areas like that. But I'd have to say earlier, couple would have been Cayman Islands. I think what we're finding right now is we're seeing a lot of reef issues, and when you have reef issues, you have fish issues, and you're losing a lot of fish life from the fact that the reefs are having issues for numerous reasons that we could all go into. But I'd have to say the Cayman Islands, I have some great pictures from there. I just took some wonderful pictures over off of West Palm Beach not too long ago. It just really depends on the subject. I'm a big fan of what they call the Christmas tree worm. It's about that big. I mean, it's really tiny. And when he's out, he looks like a Christmas tree, but you can kind of poke at him, he'll suck back in, and they've got beautiful colors.
Is there a website or a Facebook page that people can go see your pictures?
Well, Renee has been posting them up on Reef Box Facebook site, so kind of some other places I post them up when I can. A lot of our advertisements use my pictures, so...
Okay, so
that is cool.
The next question I wanted to ask you about: have you ever gotten bitten by anything that really hurt?
No.
Really?
I think what it comes down to is the same thing with people. Don't poke them in the forehead; and they're not going to bite you. And that's the same thing with fish and sharks. And we just did a shark dive in the Newport Aquarium. We got invited to go do a shark dive there. We've been in cage diving with great whites on the outside.
How was that?
Amazing. And those are some really good pictures.
Wow.
We have...
Of the sharks or the faces that you make?
I have both.
Yeah.
I have both. I have a picture of Renee, and then I have some great pictures of big open mouths with sharks.
Where did you do that?
That was in South Africa.
Okay.
Wow.
And then... I've dove with nurse sharks. We just did a dive over West Palm Beach, and a bull shark swam within 25, 30 yards of me with two babies underneath it. Again... Don't poke the beast, and it won't bite you.
So you're going to Key West next weekend, you were saying?
We're going to we're actually going to Key Largo in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, beginning of June for Coral Palooza, and it's for reef.org.
Everybody's got a palooza.
Is Popeye going to be there?
Yeah.
It's reef.org is an organization that is trying to restore the elkhorn and staghorn corals on our barrier reef here because they are critically endangered, and we're going to go down and. They've got one of the largest coral farms, so we're going to go harvest some coral and go plant some coral on the reef out there to start trying to replenish the reef there.
Awesome.
And Reef Box is a sponsor of that, one of many.
Any other questions about the water? You're
No,
bigger into the water than I am.
Yes, but I have not. Now, my father and my brother have scuba dived, but I have not scuba dived, so I will have to give that a shot. Would you do that?
How deep do you have to go? Can I reach the top?
It just really depends. I'm a diver who likes the reefs, and the reefs tend to be at 30 feet.
Oh,
That's
no
where all
way.
the pretty color is.
Not me. I'm out.
Where
I
you
knew
can
he
swim
was
up to
out.
the top. My father likes to
I'll
go
stick
do
my
walls
face
at
in the
120
water
feet.
with a snorkel. That's about as deep as I want to go.
And that's fun, too. There's
You
some
can
beautiful
still see
snorkels in the
stuff.
Keys.
Mhm.
Beautiful snorkels in the Keys.
Yeah. Is there
just
anything
can't
out
swim.
here worth going to? I mean, the water looks...
We've got a dive planned in the next couple weeks. We're going to go out to the USS Mohawk, which is, I think, like 30, 40 miles off of shore. I believe it's an old Coast Guard boat, and it's sitting in about 60 to 90 feet of water, I believe. Top at 60, I think the bottom or something like that's at 90 feet. So we have to... With the Gulf, it's a sandy bottom, so you have to sink things to create a reef. It's just because of the temperature of water, the sandiness of the sandy bottom of the water, so we don't have a reef system over here. So we build them. We have the Edison Reef out there, which I think as a group is trying to replenish the Edison Reef because of our water quality issues. It became a no oxygen zone, so the fish and the oysters and all the other corals and such that were growing on it died. So they're working to restore that.
Do you have any idea how... Did they blow that ship up, or how did they get that to sink? Do you remember?
Well, they do. We have a lot of them. We have actually something called the Shipwreck Trail that starts at the top of the Keys and goes all the way through the Keys. And what they do is they strip it of everything environmentally hazardous, and then they blow holes, strategically blow holes, kind of like they drop a building.
Wow.
They strategically blow holes in it and let it sink to the bottom. And the goal is to get it to sink, bottom down, top up. And that doesn't always work. The other thing that will affect that is, our hurricanes and stuff will blow these boats over and underwater too.
What's the coolest reef you've ever been around?
Again, I've done a lot of the Caribbean stuff, but we have the opportunity to potentially go to the Great Barrier Reef in October. So we're looking to see how we plan that trip.
Now, where's that? I know I
Off
should
Australia.
know that. Okay. Now,
That is a long flight.
But worth it, I hear.
That's what
now,
I've heard.
It must be hard to have such a sucky life like you have.
Yeah, travel. Woo!
We both feel very blessed and fortunate.
First world problems.
Exactly. You were at the table this morning. First world problems. We feel very blessed that we get these opportunities. And this just kind of fell on our lap. We bought Reef Box from another person who started it, became too big, and he didn't have enough time to dedicate to it and put it up for sale. And we said, what else do we do with the 5 hours free we have a week?
Well, good for you.
Let's
this
fill
is
it.
Awesome. So you came back for what?
So the Reef Box, what is in the Reef Box?
Good question, dear.
Well, we just mailed one out yesterday, and I won't say what's in it because it's a surprise every month for our divers. Last month, and it's anywhere between $50 and $75 worth of dive accessories. So it could be 1 month was mask holder, plus we work with a sunglass company called Knockaround. They threw something in there. A pair of sunglasses for everybody was in there. Wet
so
notes.
So
and stuff.
people give these as gifts or order them themselves.
Yeah. And we have something called a new diver box. If there's a new diver in your family and there's a bunch of accoutrements and stuff you need for a successful dive trip, we send that over a 3-month box series. So we're creating another product too.
Okay, so that's not to be confused with the boxes that you put underneath the docks that are trying to rebuild things, which was
I
want to make sure to clarify that.
Yeah.
Those are some amazing projects that we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
And
the mini reefs you were
talking
talking
about?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I think the world of anybody who's putting those underneath their docks because we need every little bit helps.
Yeah.
Cool. So this past week, you just happened to be in town, and you were
it wasn't just happened.
Megan is also the chairperson of the LPA, the local planning agency, and you've been on that committee for a couple of years now, right?
I think I'm not rounded the corner on 3 years and.
And how long the chair?
Since October.
Now, what is the function of the LPA? What is it that you guys do for the city?
We have two main responsibilities. The biggest one that most people will see is kind of a quasi-legislative piece where somebody comes in front of us that needs a variance or a special exception, a change to our, a special exception or variance from our current development code. Anything from this week was a deal was cut 23 years ago on a piece of property down the street here, and he needed to undo it because after 23 years it's kind of prohibitive to business, that type of thing. So he came in front of us, stated his case. We hold a public hearing to find out if this is appropriate for the beach, appropriate for the neighborhood, and how do we come up with a solution that works best for all parties involved.
Now,
and also you oversee the historic.
Yes.
Hold off on that for a sec. Good question, dear. But on what you were just talking about, the Leaky Tiki was the one that came up.
Yes.
So the question that I had was, if they now are allowed to play music outside, which was what was approved this week. Does that mean that if the Shamrock wants to play music outside, he's also allowed to because he has an area outside down the street?
Yes and no. I mean, again, it comes down to if there was any deals cut, is he allowed to? Also, our noise ordinance, our comprehensive plan, does encourage it, but it has to be within means and reason. So he would have to. I don't know the ordinance completely,
They're
but
different.
would have to
case by case.
A lot of times, yes.
And you want everybody to be good neighbors.
And that's, I think, the point in what we were trying to do was come up with a solution that works for the neighborhood, because that particular organization or bar is more towards the residential side of the neighborhood, and how to balance the need to have it, but also to balance the rights and the needs of a property owner who has the right to enjoy their property inside without noise.
I thought that it was such a tough call because some people were saying they could hear the music while they were sitting outside, and he wants to. I guess the ambiance of having somebody play guitar outside is cool, especially when you're driving by. It's the beach. It's the beach,
Yeah.
but somehow you guys got this whole thing where there's people living next to all the businesses down here.
Sound is
Which
it's
makes
a
it
hard
unique.
thing. It's a hard thing to contain.
Yep.
It's a hard thing to measure because of the containment issue. And it changes. If it's going up against something flat, it's going to bounce this way. If it's curved,
Yep.
I mean, so different people's perceptions are also going to be different.
Yes, and it is, and so what we were trying to do, and think we came up with an okay solution, is to try and get that sound pointed inside, not down the street, and also.
So there are no houses behind him.
Well, no, there's houses behind him, but to kind of get it more dampened by the bar, I think was what we were trying to do, is come up with a solution that everyone can kind of live with. I don't think there's a perfect solution out there, but it's our job to figure out how to get close to it.
Well,
and then it goes to town council where they can even get it.
Right.
I think that's the other piece, is that we do all the questions and we really beat these solutions up and these ideas up. And then all that information goes to town council.
And they make
helps,
the call.
Yes.
Okay,
so we don't make the call.
Oh, I
Right.
see. So no matter what you did the other day, he still shouldn't be playing music until the council approves it.
Yes, he does
Okay.
not have a permit to
Gotcha.
do music yet. And there's still a chance, that there will be another public hearing on it.
Sure.
In front of town council. But at least the idea, and this is the idea behind all of our organizations that are boards, is to be another
Vetting.
level of vetting
Yeah.
for town council. So when it gets to them, it's been vetted at least once or
Right.
twice. They've got a lot more information in their hands to try and get those meetings moving a lot faster and easier.
And what was cool, too, is people...
I'm not saying-
Yeah,
Nope.
nothing happens fast in any form of
Well,
government.
you know what? Everything needs its due process.
Right.
And they are doing it, and they do their job. And that is to beat this stuff up and come up with what's best for the town.
Unless you're Tracy Gore, then you get, Chris Patton, then you go right to the front of the line and you get a hearing the next day. But I know that's a different story.
Another one that I don't want to step on.
I
That's
know,
right.
I know. So,
the music, he can play music inside, just not outside.
Correct.
Okay.
so you had a question, wife, that you wanted to ask, Megan.
I did?
Yeah, and I interrupted
Historic
you.
board.
Oh, well, yeah, but it really was. It was just the statement that that's the other function of the LPA,
Yes.
right?
It
Is
is
to
a-
manage and
There is a push and push to save the cottages here, save some of the ambiance, the fun and funkiness that has been built up over the years in this town, and preserve that here on the island. Scott Safford's in charge of that committee, and it's another board of citizens that go out there and promote the historic preservation of this island.
so if someone has a building, a house that they want, they have to do the research, come to you. How does that process work to get that designation?
Well, again, it would be, there has been some reach out to the community, a lot of outreach to the community. So a lot of them do know or have gotten letters that their house, their building does qualify for historic recognition. There's different levels. There's the plaque program all the way up to historic designation, which then, you're starting to get into, what you can and can't do as the top level. But we have other levels that at least recognize and appreciate the fact that you are historic. If you have one, you can contact the town or interested, and they meet once a month and fill out an application, do some research, and then it's determined which level you get. And
How much time do you spend reading the codes and all the stuff that you need to know to be able. You were whipping answers off the other day, and I was like, holy crap, she's out of town for like 6 months, and she's answering all these questions like she must be reading the code books on the plane.
Well, they're very good about giving us the research. So if it's specific to a code or portion of the comprehensive plan, we're given that. Plus, you also have to know what you could spend. I've spent some time reading our comprehensive plan and reading our code because we do get a lot of questions. I get questions from citizens all the time about this and about that. And it's like, well, I will tell you if I know it, and if I don't know it, I'll get back with you and at least read it. But you just get to know it over time. But the town is very good. The town staff is very good about giving us the research ahead of time.
How about
Now,
today's? Go ahead, dear.
Let me ask this. So your background and education kind of lends itself.
It does. It's
Go ahead,
old.
tell
It's
the people.
20-something years old. It's 25 years old.
It still gives you, though, like
It does.
What did civil engineering?
No, urban planning and healthcare administration. So,
I didn't know that.
so yeah, it gives me some.
It gives you
But-
a base, yeah.
Again, but we have got some great people on staff, some great people on the board. I learned a lot from the previous chair, who is now on the LPA of the county now. Okay. So yeah, you forget a lot of stuff. It's 25 years since I've been.
I know, but it goes to your interest
Yes.
in this area, because it's not necessarily you have to. I'm thinking you have to have a real interest in this to really get deep.
I think the bigger interest you have to have is a love of the island, a want to get involved. Because if you look at the people we have on the LPA, we've got a realtor, we've got I want to say Tim is a former pilot and pilot trainer. We've got an attorney. We've got
Dan Hughes, and the guy is
oh
like
my
an
God.
encyclopedia of
I love
everything.
him.
He knows everything.
Yes.
I remember
love
back
Dan.
in 1976 when I wrote the code for Fort Myers Beach, what was going on down at the Leaky Tiki, and it wasn't the Leaky Tiki.
Well, and that's what I love about him. And even when we're in the big joint sessions where you've got Ray and you've got Anita and you've got Dan, and you go, okay, what was the intent? When this was first created, what was the intent?
Right.
Because what was the intent then and what's happening today are two different
right.
things.
Yeah, how lucky are you guys to have those people around.
They're just
That's
a gem.
awesome.
I think, those folks who were part of the original founding of this island, wrote those codes, wrote that comprehensive plan, are invaluable for us.
All right, so you've been on the LPA now for 3 years. All right, cut the crap now, Megan. Come on.
What?
Let's run for the big dog.
Oh.
We need you to run for the council. There's no reason for you not to run. You're so smart. You're doing great things over there. You need to run for the council so that not only do we block the faction that we don't want running, we need – I mean, it's clear that you need to be on the council. No, Anita can't run. Bruce says he's not running, and we know Dan is running. Dan's sitting here.
Yeah, Dan's sitting here.
Yeah, and come on now, take this next 10 seconds to announce you're going to run.
I
for
can't
the city.
announce it.
You're
I just
killing
can't.
Me. You broke me. You broke my heart.
Again, it's a family decision. 1, 2. Those folks.
Well,
on
your
that town
family is
council,
here,
whether you
so
like them or not,
we can come ask
don't
her to
do
come
that
on.
To her.
Oh.
You
I'll be sleeping
always
out by
have
the
to
pool
push-
tonight.
That's right.
Okay, so let me try and
well,
break
and you're
this.
still-
But I think the other piece too is that takes a lot of time and effort and energy, and those folks put a lot of work into it, and so that takes care and consideration to decide.
Horse pocky.
whatever.
Listen. It's time for you to do your community service in a bigger and better way.
Mm-hmm.
You
She
spent
hasn't
3
done
years
that.
there. That's like being the vice president for 3 years. Who wants that? It's time for you to move up now. Come on. All right, so let's break this into pieces if we can.
Okay.
You're not saying no.
All right. I'm not saying no.
Okay, so
And I'm not saying yes.
You didn't say yes, but you didn't say no. Now, when do you think? What's the process got to be to get you to consider it more? I mean, what's it going to take besides family?
You know what? That's first and foremost is my family and what it's going to take time. I have to look at the time. I mean, again, you just talked about me being all over the place.
Right.
And that's a commitment because I will not, excuse my language, do this half-ass.
Right.
I won't do it. And so if I do it, I'm going to do it and give it all its care and effort and energy that all the folks that are on there that you appreciate, give it.
Do you think that the council is more time than the LPA?
Yes.
Come on. But you have more help, right? Those people, you have more of a staff that helps the council, I believe.
Yes, they do, but it's still, you have to read through. If my packet is 200 pages, I have to go through, and it's 3 items on my LPA agenda. What do you think theirs looks like?
Right.
You know, and you still have to read it. And again, it's a lot of time. They have 2 meetings a month that are just town council meetings. They have management, M&P meetings that you've watched.
Yeah.
You've got committee meetings that they attend. I mean, they do duck into board cap. They duck into our meetings. There's a lot there. And they're doing their job.
I just think you and Dan together on this council would be the right. It would be we'd be set for the next decade, dear.
Dude, this isn't about you.
I know,
Again,
but these are forward-thinking.
It's not about you.
These are forward-thinking younger people that even Anita says we need younger people on the council.
Well, that's true, but that doesn't have to be.
It does have to be her, and we're going to do everything we can to convince her and to get other people to harass her to run. So, I mean, it's in March. So, what do we got?
We
got less than a year.
9 months.
So, but these campaigns you don't really have to campaign like the presidential campaign where you're doing it for 2 years. So, how much money do you need to run for council?
I have no idea.
Hey, Dan, how much money do you need to run for council? A lot. What, 10,000?
$1 million.
Now, how much?
Honestly, there is no set number.
Oh, all right. Well, how much did you spend? It's public knowledge. It's public.
Almost 21,000.
21,000. So
21,000.
if we start some kind of campaign and we raise $25,000, you have to run because what the hell are we going to do with the
Renee's
money?
over here laughing at us right now.
Renee, we're going to get together, Renee. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, brother.
I didn't say yes.
She didn't say yes.
She didn't blame him.
She what? Yes.
She
That's an
good at
endorsement
it.
right there. She said you'd be very good at it. We already know that. Everybody watching the LPA, you keep those people in line, by the way. You don't take no crap.
Well,
no.
she does it with dignified and.
Of course,
and,
yeah. But she
like,
knows the Robert's Rules of Order. Do you know what that is, dear?
I do.
Actually, I have a cheat sheet in front of me.
No, you don't.
I do.
Don't say that. I just thought you had everything memorized.
Do you have everything memorized?
About what? Robert's
About
Rules
anything.
of Order?
And it is just simply, the order of what things go in, because, again, we have to follow procedure.
Yes.
And you know what's happening right now. You don't want to be caught up in some sort of procedural issue. So I have a little cheat sheet that tells me, here's the pieces so I don't forget something.
Have you had other people ask you to run?
Yes.
How many? Like
Enough.
prominent people?
Yes.
People on the council?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. I thought at least I'm not the only one putting the pressure on.
There's
we're
pressure.
going to put the pressure on.
I hear you.
So, that's the way things work in the world. You do your time on the LPA, and then you run for the council. And then you're grooming the next person to be on the LPA.
Again, I don't know.
You're the groomer?
I do agree with you that more younger people and younger residents need to jump on these committees and start working through the committees and start getting, and that's how I ended up on it, is that I came home complaining and a fit, and if you're going to do something, if you're going to complain, you're going to jump in and do something about it.
Are there other people that we don't know of that you think are going to be, future leaders here in the city?
Yeah, I do. I think that there's some other people here that are just warming up to the idea of jumping into this, because it is into the frying pan, especially with you around.
Good Lord.
Well, I mean, if one thing I'm not, one thing I am, it's loyal, man. I'll stick with you right to the end.
I hear it.
Yeah.
I think that it's sometimes a thankless job. I mean, you're doing the best job you can. You're doing the best job you think for what's best for the island, and you're going to make some people happy and some people mad.
It's a 50% thank job.
Yeah.
So, I guess I should ask you this. Are you in favor of Margaritaville?
Yes.
All right, then you're in.
I mean, we're a family that's been using Margaritavilles for years.
Yeah.
And think about that. We used to take our family to them. We have daughters who are 16 and 18. And what they do it right. I mean, we'd show up. The kids would go do paddleboard lessons. We'd go to the pool. They'd come back for lunch. They'd go out and do crafts. We'd go to the beach, you know.
Yeah,
and
I think it all set up.
I think that the perception of what that particular hotel is not necessarily being portrayed correctly. It is a nice upscale resort. They do it right.
Totally
it's
family-oriented.
It is going to be a asset and to the beach and stepping up our game around here too.
All right, Megan, anything else you want to add or say? Or
I appreciate the time.
We always appreciate you coming on, and we appreciate the fact that
dealing with this. Thank you for all you do.
We had total sound this time, Anita.
Thank you.
So yes, everything's
going
to be great.
She can hear you right down the street.
Last
hey, you better watch it.
It's
72 decibels.
That's
for commercial.
Right. I know.
If you're a commercial business, 72.
And that's
I want to see the dude walking around with the machine that's checking things out.
You know, I am going to step in this one a little bit.
Do it.
Yeah.
Because I know that we've got a lot of noise ordinances and that stuff, and we relied upon the sheriff to do this. Let's get a couple of noise meters out here and put them in code enforcement. I don't know. You know, put them in code enforcement's hands to protect the neighbors here in this case, and in other cases, we don't have this, I can hear it from my house, I can hear it from here, and it's arbitrary.
I mean, how do you expect a sheriff's deputy to figure that out?
They don't have them on the island all the time, too. That's what we found out if you listen to the meeting. They don't always have them on the island. So.
And they're not coming down here so they can fix a noise problem.
Let's go out, let's get let's train 2 code enforcement people, and let's, just
let's get that done.
Let's get the arbitrariness out of this, and let's get, something solid planned here and move forward with it. I think that would solve some of this, horse pucky with the noise.
And the other thing is be a good neighbor. I mean, what's wrong with that? If it's too loud in their house, they're not coming to your place because they're BSing you, right? Or are they?
I don't know. I don't think so. But
it's just, again, it's so subjective.
Well, listen.
So what would bother one wouldn't bother another.
Yeah, so let's make it not subjective, and let's get a meter out here, have it on the beach. Let's start.
It is what it is at that point.
And go from there.
Here's an idea. If you're going to require the bike stores to make sure all the bikes have lights, why not require the businesses to have their own meter?
I'm all for that, by the way.
Oh, well.
Because I've almost, just pulling into my driveway,
bike lights. Yeah.
I've almost hit multiple rentals because, again, nobody's traveling down here with a set of bike lights. I'm going to rent a bike. Let me bring some bike lights.
Right.
It isn't happening.
Yeah.
And Key West does it. They make them have lights on every rental.
Well, I mean, if you're going to make them do that.
Part of the equipment. It's safety equipment.
Make all the businesses have the decibel meter. Hey, then you have every manager trained on it, and if it's too high, you have to turn it down. If you're going to do that, then you don't have to worry about the neighbors complaining, the sheriff's deputy.
An equal comparison.
Well, maybe not an equal comparison, but it's a great idea.
Oranges.
By the way,
one's a safety issue. Those lights, that's also to protect us as drivers.
Yeah.
Because we can't always see those bikers going the wrong way on the sidewalk in dark clothing because they're geniuses.
Right.
Listen, I had 8 lights on this morning when I left, but I left at 3:30.
You look like that Christmas tree worm.
Well, I want to look like that. But
hey, I even have a helmet, a luminous helmet.
Yes,
I can back them at Kickstarter. Yeah. But we both have those lights that have headlights on the front and turn signals on the back.
During Kickstarter, it was still $150 for that thing.
We bought 2.
He had it, and he sweat so much
it ruined it. It
really?
shorted out. It got me shocked right through the brain. I thought I was. Oh my God!
That explains a lot.
I thought I was getting electrocuted.
Well, they just came out a new version of it. I don't know if you saw it.
We were talking about that
last
night. How crazy is that? Yeah.
But I really like that helmet. We don't have to worry about lights because it has a nice bright headlight on it. It has turn signals on the back.
Listen, I've tried everything. I tried eyeglasses that had lights coming out of it. I try and tape lights. I have all kinds of reflectors.
You can't have enough, quite honestly, at night on this beach and biking.
All right, Megan. Well, thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
When you officially announce for the council, we hope you'll do it on our show, but... Megan Heil, everybody. Thank you so much. All right, I want to let everybody now know about our sponsor, our good friends Nick and Ed at FMB Designs and Remodeling. They have been remodeling in the remodeling business for a very long time. If you need something, anything remodeled, make sure that you call Nikki and Ed. If you need a kitchen, if you need, let's see, a bathroom, let's see if you're bored with your living room because the couch has holes in it, anything that you need remodeled. There's some great before and after pictures that we have on our Facebook page, and we're going to have more on our Facebook page in the next week. We're going to have more up there about the great work that they do. So FMB Designs are our sponsor right here, 239-362-8408. Take a sticker, take a card, take a mouse pad, but don't take a T-shirt. Thank you. Why do you need to drive through the construction, folks, when you can call Nikki and Ed at FMB Designs and Remodeling? And the number again is 362-8408, 362-8408. And we thank them so much for being a sponsor. Right now, our guest for the second half of the show, Glenn, sit down. Put the sign down. Trying to get. I would be the same way though, doing the marketing as much as. Well, I need you guys to switch.
Well,
microphones.
you're on the network, so it counts.
Yeah,
Switch
you guys switch microphones
microphones.
because that's a louder one there.
Okay.
Awesome.
Are you saying it louder?
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jemmy and Glenn from the Florida Podcast Network, and we appreciate you guys so much for taking our show on the Florida Podcast
Of course.
Network. Why did you do that?
Because you wouldn't give me a choice. You kept calling and calling and calling and begging.
That's a lie.
No, because you know what? We had a vision. We have a vision with the Florida Podcast Network to keep local voices alive. We want local voices representing their communities, and that's what we want to do. So we want to bring on shows that are doing that.
The loudest in Fort
And
Myers.
you're the most obnoxious we could find, and we thought they're a good fit for our tone too. And
Well-
you guys are doing such a great job. We thought it's a no-brainer.
The wife was yelling at me all morning long about how loud I was. So. Now, you guys have to tell us what Finding Florida is all about, because you get to do some of the coolest stuff.
We
So
sure do. Why don't you tell people
Yeah,
what Finding Florida's
Florida
about?
is a travel adventure show where we travel all over the state of Florida doing crazy, wild things. And we record them for our podcast. So we maybe record 20 to 30 hours of audio, and then we put it out into an hour podcast. We edit it all down. So it's a really fun. We always joke that if we can't get Jemmy screaming at one of the stops, then it's not a good show.
And he says that every time. And the funny thing is, he's the only one who's been in the hospital in the course of doing this show.
That's true.
But he tries to get me screaming.
Wait,
But whatever.
wait. How'd you wind up in the hospital?
Broken ribs, yeah, Daytona Beach.
Wait, how do you break ribs doing a podcast, Glenn?
We're very interactive.
Yeah, we're very
What the hell were you doing?
I actually fell down and hit a metal thing and broke my ribs.
So we can't say exactly where we were
Yeah,
because we
we're
keep
not
the
allowed.
location, the vendor anonymous. However, let's just say out of all the things that we were doing that weekend, it was the Wheels of Daytona Beach was the theme,
Oh,
so
okay.
it was action-packed to say
Yeah,
the least.
we were in race cars and the whole
This
thing.
would have been on the long list of things we had to do. The last thing I thought would have ended up in an emergency
Yes.
room visit.
Wow. Did you
But leave
record
it to
everything?
him.
Yeah,
Oh, we got the funk
we had
on
the-
Now, which
recording.
episode
We
is
had
that
the
on?
ribs
It's
cracking.
episode. I think it's the 4th adventure,
Yeah.
maybe.
Nice.
So it's the
Daytona
Daytona Beach
Beach.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we got the clunk on. Oh, it was. And you hear me not so worried about him so much. This is my reaction. Your phone, because it goes flying. Which
Did it go in the water or something, or in the sand? Or,
phone-
yeah.
No.
it hit the road, and
It
I
hit
was
the
very
road at
afraid
40 miles
that
an hour.
we would lose half of our show's recordings.
Oh, okay.
on
You
the-
recorded the phone,
so I
too.
was more
Cool.
worried about the phone, not him.
So, Glenn,
Yeah.
you've been podcasting. You've both been podcasting a long time. But
Yeah.
have you been podcasting longer?
Yeah, I've been almost 12 years now.
You see how old he looks. What do
Yeah,
you think?
I've been almost 12 years with the Horse Radio Network. We've done over 7,500 episodes with the Horse Radio Network over 12 years.
Explain what the Horse Radio Network
So it's a
is.
radio. It's just what it says.
Yeah.
We are the largest podcast network for the horse world, and we have 17 different shows, all talking about horses. We have almost 30 hosts from around the world, actually, and we just talk about horses all the time. Our most popular show is Horses in the Morning. It's live 5 days a week, hour and a half a day, 5 days a week. And we talk a little bit about everything, but that's our most popular show. We have about 40,000 people that tune into that.
Wow.
So it
Incredible.
does quite
And you
quite
have
well.
sponsors, and how do
Yeah,
you, so
we-
this is a money-making thing
Yeah,
for
I've
you
been
now.
full-time since our 4th year, so I've been full-time probably for 7-8 years now.
And it's interesting. There are very few podcasters that do a live broadcast, and I'm actually sitting with two in between
Yeah,
two
that's
right
right.
now, so I feel pretty privileged. Let me tell you.
It's the old radio guy in me that you just you
and
don't
it's the radio
That's why I
wannabe guy
wanted
in
to-
him.
That's why I wanted to do the live.
because you wanted to be in radio.
And it has a feel, right? Doing this
Oh yeah,
live has
yeah,
a feel.
yeah.
And,
And you don't have to go back and edit it. I mean,
That is nice.
and I don't have to listen to
he
my
knows
voice.
his mistakes are a lot more forgivable when it's live. That's,
That's
his
right.
excuse for
Right.
everything.
So you started out like I remember we did an interview for my
Yeah.
other job, and you started out, you said, with like 3 listeners,
Yeah.
and then it's grown to this
well,
many
nobody
shows.
knew how to listen to podcasts 12
Right,
years ago.
right.
either,
What a podcast
or what
was.
it was either. So yeah, after 6 months, we had 12 listeners, and our first sponsor took a chance on us. After with no listeners,
I mean, that is
really
quite
took
the
a chance.
chance.
That same sponsor is still with us, sponsoring 3 shows today, 12 years later.
Amazing.
What are some of the sponsors?
We have Kentucky Performance Products, Horse Lovers, Omega Alpha, Equine, and then the list. We have 30, so
Yeah,
I mean the
it's
list
a
goes on and on.
But how do you
Long
get how do you get away from the the problem radio has with playing 15 commercials
We
in a row.
don't. We'll only put, in an hour. We will only put up to 4.
Okay.
So we will not do it. And most of our commercials are products we use. We only take products we use and that we like. So most of it is woven into the conversation. We just
you
talk
get
about it.
creative. Plus, they also have auditors. So HRN auditors are a group of just really highly dedicated fans.
Super fans, yeah.
Super fans. And there's a lot that is a benefit of being an auditor, but one of those that you get to do product reviews. So if one of their sponsors might send an auditor a product, and then that product review becomes part of the show. So there are all kinds of creative ways that they have of weaving in sponsored content into the show rather than just
you said that
ads.
you only take products that you use. How many horse products are you taking?
Well, we have 30 hosts, so we can spread them out.
Nice.
Yeah.
You don't look like you take any horse supplements or anything, but I guess
We do, actually.
nice. So, Jemmy, you started in podcasting when, and how has that grown for you?
So I started in 2014. The first podcast I ever had was called Curve the Cube, and it was all about people finding their passion and figuring out how do they pursue that as a career and find success. I've always been boggled, by how do people figure that out, becoming a lifetime artist, musician, writer. Like, how do they do the thing that they love for a living? So I thought, well, instead of just asking a bunch of people myself and keeping it to myself, I started a podcast with those conversations in mind. And lo and behold, it was called Curve the Cube because I was curving your way out of your cubicle kind of a thing. Yeah, and lo and behold.
Took me a while to figure that out, too, actually.
And, biggest mistake, actually, number one, is having a podcast name that makes no sense to anybody but you. But anyways, lo and behold, in doing Curve the Cube, I discovered that podcasting became my passion, and the show ended up becoming the story of me curving my own cube. And so when I decided I wanted to do podcasting full time, it was at the same time that I happened to meet Glenn at a podcast convention, Podfest. You went and checked that out.
Yep.
And he became my mentor, and we formed a really great friendship and brainstormed.
We're so much alike.
Yeah, it was so much alike. And he knew I wanted to go. Yeah, right. He knew I wanted to dive full steam ahead into podcasting, and we kind of brainstormed some ideas. And Florida Podcast Network seemed to make the most sense. And
So you launched the Florida Podcast Network
Yeah.
when, and who do you have on the network in addition to our show?
So you heard a lot about Horses in the Morning, which is the flagship show for Horse Radio Network, and we didn't really have a flagship show. And he came with the idea of doing Finding Florida because why?
Because I just always wanted to get out of the office right now after doing all those podcasts every week, and I wanted to travel around Florida and see it.
Do something non-horse related.
Yeah, non-horse related. We do not talk about horses on Finding
So
Florida.
I guess
really.
after a while you get tired of smelling horse shit all day long,
basically.
right?
We're shoveling it.
Basically,
Yeah.
don't ask about sheath cleaning. Your life will never be the same. So we started Finding Florida, and then the second show we actually got on board was Suzanne Boyd's show for People of Palm Beach.
Nice.
And Suzanne Boyd was a 20-year anchor for local news, and she kind of needed to get out of the news business, and we wanted to
Good
keep
for
her
her.
local voice local. So we have a show with her called People of Palm Beach, and literally within a week, we also got you guys attached to the network.
Crazy.
And we're so excited. And then we started our other show, Florida Podcasting News, which just keeps people current on what's going on in the podcasting scene in Florida.
So Finding Florida is you guys get in an RV and
Well, this trip we're in an RV. We're sponsored by
Courtesy
Freedom
of
RVing. Got to give them a plug.
RVing.
excellent.
So
Freedom
they trusted
RV.
us with a brand new,
Is there a Freedom RV here in
This is
Fort
what
Myers?
we're doing
In
right
Venice.
now. We're
In
driving
Venice.
down
Yep.
the road.
This is a new concept. You're familiar with Freedom Boat Club, right?
Right,
And
right.
that's where you pay a certain amount and then a certain amount a month, and you can take boats out anytime you want. You don't have to own them to maintain them, nothing. Well, they're trying that with RVs. So you pay a flat fee up front and then so much a month, and then you can take them out for a week at a time
Yeah.
whenever you want. You just sign it out.
And they come like fully stocked.
Oh, my.
I
This is a
couldn't believe it. I mean, not
32-foot
just
brand new RV.
Not
Wow.
just like towels and stuff. I mean, like every kind of kitchenware you can imagine, like the appliances you need,
Well, what is
beach
it?
chairs.
Out of
It's kinda
curiosity, what's
crazy.
the fee about?
Okay, so they charge $6,000 up front, one-time fee, and then $300 a month. And then you can take them out like once a month. You can take a week. You can go every other week. You can take these things out when you want. And anybody's renting an RV will realize that's pretty cheap because it'll cost you thousands a week to rent
Yeah.
an RV. And this one, It's 32 foot. It's been interesting getting around a beach down here with an RV.
I was going to say, do you have a car
But-
attached in the back or bikes?
No,
Oh, you're driving
no.
up to the Publix
But
in the
let
RV.
me tell you, this is the way to go to the beach because
Oh, yeah.
yesterday we were at the beach. We went and looked for shark's teeth on Venice Beach, and afterwards, and my son was in his shorts and t-shirt and underwear, like he was not prepared for beach wear, and it didn't matter because right afterwards we just walked right in, jumped in showers right in our own.
Oh, they have
our own
showers?
digs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
inside of the RV.
nice.
It's really nice.
It's so nice.
So if you wanted to buy that RV off the rack, what you got right
like
now?
90
Like
grand, something like
99.
that.
Oh, wow.
And they
That's
trusted me to
incredible.
drive it.
I know, both of us. I haven't gone behind the wheel since the test.
So
but
when
they
you-
trusted both of us.
So
I didn't
Glenn-
even think I showed up my license.
When you get up to the counter and tell them all you've ever done is ride a horse, what do they say? Sure, here's a license anyway. Go ahead, take the keys and go.
That's right.
Exactly.
You
Well,
know,
he's had.
that's harder than driving an RV,
I was
actually.
gonna say he's
Oh, it
driven
is?
horse
Yeah.
trailers, so he's had some. And I've driven EMT. I was an EMT in college, so I've driven ambulances. So it's kind of close, you know.
Well, I got to give a plug for one of your local businesses here, too. Red Coconut is
Yes.
putting us up.
Yes.
They let us park on the beach last night because they have the camping on the beach, and we're
It's
parked right there on the
so
beach. And they're
nice.
so nice there. They
It
really
is
are
so
nice.
nice.
Listen, what I want you guys to do after Red Coconut is take the RV and make a right, because it's like an obstacle course down there if you make a right. The road construction down to the
We're in
right
the-
I
is
was gonna
incredible.
say, is it like extra points for hitting people?
Oh,
or
it's
hitting
crazy. You're gonna
cones?
if you
how does
want to
the point-
experience Fort Myers Beach, take the RV and go that way all the way to
No,
Bonita
well,
Beach
experiencing
Road.
Fort Myers Beach that way will end us with experiencing like the jail. in
No,
Fort
no,
Myers
no.
Beach
But you'll have the
because
cars will be backed up
expensive
to
of
us.
experience.
Try and do a U-turn too with
No,
that with
I
that
tried
beast.
that yesterday. It was like 6 points.
Oh man! Oh man! Oh man!
So
oh,
you
man.
guys were in Port Charlotte or what were you
We
guys
were
doing
in
with the
Venice.
crabs?
Punta Gorda.
Yeah, we're Venice, and then Punta Gorda. Yesterday we got a crab cracking
Oh,
lesson.
it was so much fun.
I was watching part of that on Facebook
Yeah.
and
That was Peace River Seafood. Have you ever been there?
no.
Oh, it was delicious.
Oh, you
Absolutely.
can eat crab. He doesn't eat seafood, does
No.
he? I don't either. I'm in with you.
Okay.
Good job.
But the crabs were
I
on the
do.
table. They were
and it was so yummy. You can the smell, the ambiance. It was like one of those places that is just quintessential Florida. And the manager Jerry, born and raised, like straight out of Punta Gorda, he was fantastic. And he gave us not only a ton of crab, which Jen did an awesome job teaching me how to crack crab because I've never done
That's
it
a
before.
lot of work for a
lot
little
of work,
meat,
but
by
it
the
was,
way.
it was so worth it. but
they
then
get this much meat, and you're smashing and cracking and pulling and.
But then Jerry surprised me with a box full of my favorite crawfish, which was just.
Well, how did he know that?
such a
Did you
nice
call
treat.
ahead?
No, we had
You
told
happened
him.
to mention
Yeah,
it,
I
I think,
mentioned it.
offhanded.
She's from
and
New Orleans.
He
you know.
snuck
Oh,
off
okay.
to the kitchen and comes back.
Very
with,
nice.
Yeah, it was so good. So, we
So
had a great time.
from there, where'd you go?
We went over to the campground, and we did 3 or 4 things. We went shark tooth hunting yesterday and found 4. So we were
4
so
of them,
excited.
yes.
the
That was
little
the
ones.
first thing we did.
How do you know they're not pieces of glass?
Oh,
I mean,
you can tell actually.
Honestly, some of them
He has never done
were
that, has he?
probably shark teeth that we left
We have to
behind
get
because
him
they were
out
so
more.
they're little nubs, but
you
for
didn't
the
go
most
out on the
part-
beach with lights on, did you? It's turtle season
No,
down
it
there.
was daytime.
no,
It was
it was
daytime. That
All
was the
right.
very first
We were
thing.
not the only ones hunting for shark's teeth up at Venice Beach.
No, there are
In the
lots of
dark.
people out there. But it's amazing how
Where are all
different
those
the
little
beach-
turtles going?
No.
Oh, they didn't. Are
About
they
the
supposed to?
sand turtles?
But
Yeah, no.
we've done special episodes about the turtles and been at rehab
Well,
centers and stuff.
Also, the way that our RV is facing, our RV is not facing out to the water, so I don't think our lights would be really an issue for the sea turtles.
Oh, okay.
But that is something that we should keep in mind, and anybody who's visiting our beaches needs to keep in mind
Yeah.
that when you have lights, like the little hatchlings, they come out and they
Listen,
just
we
look
had
for
the turtle
light.
lady on last week. She
Did ya?
she gave the whole spiel.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
so listen to last week's episode. You'll
Or was it
understand
2 weeks
why.
ago or something?
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
So
I think it
where
was 2
where are
weeks
you
ago.
going? Like, what else are you doing?
This is our final destination.
No, we're heading one other place
Oh,
today.
no. Okay. Activity-wise, yes, we're going to go see the Edison and Four Winter Estates.
Oh, wow.
Which we're very excited about because, so it wasn't until we were talking with, we were talking with the people from the chamber, or was it from the Visitors Bureau? I forget. But in the conversation with Jackie Parker, that's who it was, I remembered that I had taken a trip here when I was a kid and actually gone and seen the Edison and Four Winter Estates. And so knowing that this is the first trip that my son is taking with us,
Very cool.
and he's going to come and see it too, is pretty cool. And it's just neat to have him get a little bit of a history lesson into the minds behind the car and the light bulb.
Oh, you guys are going to love it there.
Yeah. So we're excited for that. And then it's just going to be about experiencing the RV park and just hanging out and
we got to get that
camper.
deal with the RV. That's
Let me
sweet.
tell you, it
Travel
is
around the country and do
amazing.
podcasts.
It is
It's
cool.
amazing.
That says, we don't get to do that. Most of the time we're in our little cars. And,
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
We are
Oh,
being
this is a one-time
This is a
thing.
one-time
We are
deal.
being
Well, how do you
Don't
score that
don't
into a
tell
big
them.
deal, though?
Wait. Yeah, let's put that out there. Freedom RV, and we are available.
We can just keep it. That'd be great.
So let's talk about podcasting
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
Like, I would
nothing
like
about
to
that.
see more people podcast and, for whatever reason,
100%.
something they're passionate about or they want to promote their business or something. We actually have somebody here that we're going to talk to after the show that's
great.
got something going on with hemp.
Awesome.
Or CBD oils, and that's a big
Yeah.
thing.
Thing right now in the horse
Yeah,
world, too.
we want
Yeah.
people to get into podcasting and pursue their passion. I mean, when I was learning about podcasting, what really struck me the most and why I fell in love with it so much is just all the different things you can do with it. It's really so free-formed. And so whatever you're passionate about, you can affect so many people. I mean, we've seen it. We have friends of ours who have a show about cancer or a show about women's health or, all kinds of stuff that just, it really does make a difference. And what's podcasting been like for you? So that's a new experience for you, Kim.
It's a very new experience
Did
for
you
me.
get into
And then
this
you have to work with
willingly or
him.
unwillingly?
I mean,
I think it was on a bet
on a bet?
that I lost. No. That I won. No,
But
it's
you've been dedicated. I mean, you come every time, regardless of whether you have a broken knee or whatever was going on that for a little while.
broken hip, broken face.
You need a new
No,
co-host. He is just
it's-
abusing you.
I know, right? I just, for me, it's was way out of my comfort zone because it's, he comes from a radio background,
Yeah.
so it's easy for him. But I kind of swooped in, I think, because we've been married so long, and the way we interact on the show is the way we interact at home. So it was just more of an extension.
Very entertaining.
It's never boring,
It's
apparently,
never
at
boring,
their house.
Never boring. But what's interesting in watching the progression of your show, because when you guys first contacted me, I listened to a bunch of the early episodes, just kind of check y'all out and stuff.
Right.
And it's interesting to see how much that he kind of supported you getting in your
Right.
comfort zone and figuring out your groove and everything. And I also figured out that it was also a balance of you supporting this crazy adventure that he wanted to go on.
Well, he needs some reining in.
I
and
can
so
tell. Oh, yeah.
I am the, dampener down, and also I do all the research. So that's I like to geek out on being prepared and having all the information. And so, like, for this morning show, we didn't even really get into it as much. But I had all sorts of statistics about noise and sound and decibels and the physics of sound. But, sometimes I go too
Way.
deep. Too deep.
That's a problem we don't have with
But-
our show, by the way.
We are very
If we're going
surface,
deep, it's
guys.
underwater
We are
usually.
very surface.
Well, and underwater sound does not travel that well. I can tell you that.
Even though we did capture some great underwater sound for an
Did you?
episode. When we were in Crystal River, we were swimming with manatees, and our tour guys had an underwater camera that was a video camera, and so they shared all the footage with us, and we pulled that as part of our podcast.
So you can hear the manatees.
Yeah, you can hear
Sounding
you
going-
can hear a baby way off in the distance.
Yeah.
It's really
It was
cute.
really cool.
That
Really
is,
cool.
yeah. You guys
Yeah.
have done some amazingly fun things.
We have.
I might have missed it, so I apologize. But have you gone up to Sarasota and done Ringling?
We're doing that next month.
Okay.
We're gonna be in
Fun.
Sarasota. I've done Ringling before. We did a special episode of Horses in the Morning there because there were so many horses involved in the circus. So we did that, and I want her to see Ringling. The museum is unbelievable.
Oh, it's you can't even describe
And
the
the house.
art and the house.
Yeah.
Kadajan.
Kadajan.
Yes, it is.
Sounds fancy.
I mean, I've been there a few times, and I took art history in school as an elective, and so it's such a pleasure to go up there.
I would not expect art to be a big
The-
deal at the ring.
wait
What,
till-
what,
Well,
where's the art
there's
tie-in?
two. Well, there's two. There's the
Right.
Ringling Museum that's circus oriented, and then Ringling was a big art
collector?
connoisseur.
And his
oh,
little house is right there in the property.
Yeah. His little house.
His little
His
house.
little house.
His 55-room little house.
I
Is
mean-
it kind of going to be like a mix between the International Showman's Museum meets Bonnet House?
Better.
Better.
Yes.
All right.
I
We're in
mean,
for a treat.
those those Paul Rubens, when you first walk in, they're huge.
Wait, Paul Rubin as in Pee-wee?
No, as in the artist.
That's her point of reference. Now you know what I work with.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. And it's cool because wherever you go in the room,
I'm showing my
those
generation.
eyes are on you. It's amazing.
They have his train car in there, his private train car that he traveled in. And that was cool because you normally don't get to go in it, but when we were there doing the tour, they took us in it. But the model railroad display, wait till you see that. That is incredible.
The whole thing is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, you really, it's such a gem to have such a huge collection. And
did you eat at the Old Salty Dog when you were up there?
I didn't. We ate, though. I did one time. I ate there at one of the little cafes there, but I don't remember.
Yeah, we ate at the Old Salty Dog yesterday in Venice, which has two in Sarasota, and that was a lot of fun. The woman who owns that's from Great Britain and is a trip.
Oh, she's
a
a trip.
Judy. Shout out to Judy. She's
great.
Yes,
you
we
have
were
characters that live in this part of Florida.
Oh, yeah, you do.
There certainly
and
are.
Fun because
Not just Ed.
the way
I
you guys
know.
do the Facebook Live, sometimes you capture the characters right in your background, and sometimes y'all comment on them. Man, what you had to say about man boobs, Ed, had me rolling.
Thank you.
So inappropriate. This is what I have to
what
work
made me
with.
laugh was how uncomfortable it made Kim.
I have an idea. Why don't you and I do our show, and we'll leave Jemmy here.
Be an appropriate
Perfect. I think it ought to be perfect.
That's true.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
But
There
see,
you
this
go.
goes to show sometimes opposites make good
Yes.
co-hosts.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
we
you
look
kind of need
at
that
us walking
yin-
into places, right? we do get stares, and we're always wondering: is it the age? Is it the color? What exactly is the
all of
problem
the
here?
above. All of the above.
Well, I do have to ask you guys, being that you're part of the Florida Podcast Network. You saw how we've set up the
I
whole
think
shebang
it's
here, the outdoor
great.
studio.
Amazing.
great.
What's our
Very
grade on
impressive.
that?
Oh, you get an A+.
You get an A++.
Thank you.
Extra points.
Wait a minute. The only thing you were missing.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Here comes is your banner.
Uh-oh.
Well, if you're going to leave that with us, we will figure it
Here we
out.
go.
Listen,
Here we go.
would you spend $8
Here
on
we
that,
go.
Glenn? Look at the size of my banner. My banner's way bigger than your banner,
His
Glenn.
brother's
Is this
company
a banner
made this.
size issue here?
Oh, no wonder. He got what he paid for. It's free.
Well, I think it looks
Shout out
fantastic.
to Wayne and Easy Signs Online, easy.com.
Well, I
Well,
did
it
want
looks
to. I also
fantastic.
wanted to ask you guys what you thought.
I don't have to overcompensate. Let's just throw that in there.
All right.
Oh.
We love doing this
I
out.
thought I was the inappropriate one.
All right, get out of the gutter, you two.
That's where we live.
We love doing this outdoor radio show.
This is great.
How do we duplicate this in Sarasota and Tampa? And I mean,
You know what it
I
takes?
do-
The right people, the
takes-
right hosts.
It takes the right host. You know it. The first thing I always look for when I'm starting a show, I will not start a show unless I have the right host. It
Yeah.
has to be the right host.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do this travel show for a long time, finding Florida, and I could never find the right person. You need somebody that was bubbly and fun and a
He's
little
still looking,
weird.
by the way.
Yeah, I'll find her eventually.
yeah, you're not bubbly at all.
And you know what people comment the most about our show? Her laugh.
For sure.
When you're looking for a host, that's the thing,
Actually,
right?
it's
the
really
little
funny.
things.
There's been once or twice that I've been out somewhere and someone has recognized me by my laugh, and I'm like, that is just weird.
But let me throw that out there. We are looking for people around the state of Florida to do local shows like
yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that local radio is going away. It's all
not a
syndicated
concern. It's
now,
happening.
And we want the Florida Podcast Network to be the home that when somebody wants to find a local podcast for their area in Florida, they go here
Right,
first.
right.
And then they just click on Fort Myers Beach and they find you guys, and now they have a local podcast to listen to.
Exactly.
That's replacing what's missing in radio.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, it's so weird you say that because when I got up this morning, I was looking over some of the radio stuff, and Don and Ron, I think I have that. It could be Ron and Don. They were working at Cairo in Seattle until about January 10th when the boss came in and said, you're fired. They had great ratings. They were there for 13 years, and it's sometimes they just don't want to pay you anymore. So
Let me tell you.
And
Well,
they hired two of the
what-
interns at half the price.
what
Right.
happened is they're launching their own show on a podcast on May
Good for them.
27th, and all those listeners are now going to
Good
come
for
and listen to
them.
them because, you know
Let
why?
me tell you.
They're not playing 15 minutes of commercials an hour on a
Right.
podcast.
Right.
This has been.
We
this-
wish we were.
This
but
has
we-
been part of what drives my blood. You know, when I started Curve the Cube, was so as I want people to, if they have an opportunity to get out of corporate America, get out of corporate America, because I think there's a lot of garbage involved. And unfortunately, when you're talking about local radio, local television broadcasting, corporate conglomerates come in and they don't care about the local voices who've been there forever. We literally just had a conversation about this for our other show, the Florida Podcasting News, and then 2 days after that conversation, a local radio DJ who had been with this radio station for 28 years, he had dedicated his life to this radio station, was fired.
Who was it?
For no reason. I don't want to say because
Who was it?
Because he ended up 2 days later taking his life.
Oh, wow. I did not hear about that.
This is not a joke. People don't value local voices anymore, and they're dispensable. So I'm hoping to spread the word about Florida, because it was crazy. As soon as I heard that he had been let go, my initial thought was, I want to reach out to him and tell him about the opportunity with us.
Right.
Keep his voice out there. And,
Crazy.
within 48 hours, the opportunity was gone. So,
well,
yeah.
the way to bring the show down at the end there. Wow.
I didn't mean to bring
Appreciate
the show down,
that.
but the point is...
Well, I didn't say that. That was a
the
down.
point
I was
is
trying to
that,
be uplifting and
local
looking for
voices
people.
need to be kept alive and respected, and not just thrown out.
Well,
And
we're here to help
yeah.
that, though.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to do,
Exactly.
and you're doing that right here. Right
Oh, we
here
have a
on the
great
beach.
time, 'cause
And
we-
by the way, this is cool. I need to move my show outside.
How do you beat this, though?
This is
I mean,
great.
You live on a farm. It's not hard.
The greatest part about this is the 57th time we've done the show, and never once rained out.
I was just
never
gonna
once.
ask.
It never
doesn't
rains
rain
in the
on
morning.
Saturday.
It never rains in the morning. It was cold a couple times. I mean, cold for us
Didn't
is
Irma get you, or
55.
where you started that?
No, it was after that. And so we went inside and did the show inside a couple times, but that was it.
And let's give it. I mean, Pete's. We had the food. It's really good here.
Yeah.
Really good.
Oh, yeah.
In fact,
John-
my son said not only does he want to move to Fort Myers Beach, but he wants a commitment that we're going to come here for breakfast every
Nice,
day.
very nice. Oh, yeah, the place was packed. You
Pete.
saw when you first got here. They have great food.
Can I compliment you guys? You guys are doing a terrific job. You really are.
Well, thank
and,
you.
I've
It's all
watched
her.
several of them in the mornings, and you've watched a lot of them in the
Yeah.
mornings. And you're just what local places need. You're doing the politics, but you're also keeping it light and fun, and you're doing it for the good of the community, which really comes across.
Keeping
So
the
well
content
done.
local.
Well, we're not trying to do it for the good of the community just because I have a huge ego. That's really the only reason I'm doing it. But if some good comes out of it, what the hell?
This is what happens
By
when Ed gets
accident.
bored.
Right.
When Ed gets bored.
One time we just set the
Ed,
camera
say
up in the
thank you.
backyard,
Say
too.
thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Glenn. And Glenn's like the podcasting superstar. He's like the granddaddy.
What'd you call
I'm not
going to
call you the
newsletter?
grandmother, so.
I appreciate it.
I'm
Well-
still getting some crap for what you called me in that newsletter.
Oh,
I'm
God.
still getting that.
One of
What the hell was
great,
it?
Wait, the
The
most
successful
successful
podcaster
podcaster
of all
on
time.
planet Earth.
So my wife's getting me a T-shirt with the Planet Earth on
Nice.
it now, just because
Nice.
of that. And at PodFest immediately after that, I got so much crap because of you.
You
Nice.
need a full-on staff with a planet Earth on
And
the
I
top.
call
Around.
Rob Greenlee the tallest podcaster on planet Earth, too. That guy's like the Jolly
Easy,
Green
I
Giant.
look up to him.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming on.
This
We're going to
is
do our
fun.
little spiel now where she tries to be funny and I have to really
Can I
be the funny
introduce
one.
you to
but
our new
Yes.
executive producer real quick?
Oh, yeah. He looks thrilled to be
He
a
is thrilled to be
podcaster.
on
He's got all
here.
the gear on, though.
He's
You
very
guys are.
excited.
I like the way you guys market. He totally matches.
Come on, kiddo.
He's got the hat on.
He's-
What's the name of your podcast going to be?
He just says he wants to do what now? He wants to help our podcast, right, JoJo?
Yeah.
So he's our new executive producer.
Nice.
This is his first adventure with us, so we're very excited to have him on board. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you guys for coming down. Enjoy the coconut. I mean, not many people get to just pull into the Red Coconut for no charge and hang out there, so that's pretty
Thank
cool.
you, Red Coconut. Thank you,
Enjoy-
Freedom RVing.
Are you guys going to be there another night? Or
Yeah, we're here tonight.
Oh, wow. You guys got to walk down here
Oh,
at
we're
night.
gonna-
Oh,
we're
yeah.
gonna definitely
Yeah.
do that.
Well,
Very
maybe take the
excited.
trolley or something, or
Yep.
I don't even know what's running anymore, the trolley or the
There you
tram.
go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. A big
coming
hand for
on.
Glenn and Jemmy for coming all the way from Tampa. Well, you know, they're enjoying life, too, and that is pretty cool.
There
Yeah.
you go.
That's right, everybody. The Florida Podcast Network is what you want to check out for some of the other shows, but you can also catch our show there. And we want to thank those guys for not only coming down, for being on the show. And what I wanted to bring up was a couple of quick things, dear.
Be quick.
Leon Moyer, nobody's seen or heard of him. Like, he hasn't
Wow.
been at the last couple of meetings, and we haven't seen him around on his bike, so we need to put out, like, an APB on Leon, see where he is.
Maybe we need to check the mooring field because doesn't he have a boat?
He does. He has a
Yeah.
boat out there, but I don't know which boat is his. But I wonder if anybody knows what's going on there. Like, I noticed he missed one meeting, but, you know, you can't go to all of them. And then I
Right.
noticed, hey, Where's Leon? He hasn't been to any of the meetings, so I wonder what's going on with that. Don't forget about Popeye Palooza, which is tomorrow to benefit the kids on the beach, all the youth sports. That starts at 11 o'clock.
And runs till 7.
11 to 7.
Great
and
food and entertainment, I believe,
right.
We're going to have.
Yes, I think he said he had a number of bands.
Number of bands, a number of giveaways, a lot of stuff to win.
Don't
Good
sit in
stuff.
front of the sponsor sign, dear. I also wanted to make sure that I answered your dad because he gets on, he watches you. I know he loves you and blah, 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 and he gets on the show and watches the show.
Actually, I've got to ask them because my dad and I are looking at doing a bioluminescence kayaking.
Podcast?
No, a trip. And it could be on there. I could do a guest spot.
You know what would be a great podcast?
What?
You and your dad reminiscing about the younger days. Yes, wouldn't that be great, dear?
That would be fantastic.
Yes, it would be. It'd be like therapy. Wouldn't you think so?
Moving on.
Okay, see what I mean? See how uncomfortable you are right now? That's what people like. They like uncomfortableness. You know what we watched last weekend that was pretty cool? That new show that LeBron James put out. That obstacle course,
Mile?
the million dollar mile. That was pretty cool.
That was cool.
Where you have, what was it, like 30 seconds to take off on the course. Every time you pass an obstacle, you get 10 grand or something, and then you get to choose whether or not to bail out or go to the next
your
obstacle.
Money or go to the next.
But if the chaser, that's what it is. The person, I wanted to be a chaser.
The defender.
They call it the defender. It's like that. What was that movie that was it Arnold was in or somebody else was in where they set him free, but he go out and kill people? What was that movie? Remember that?
It sounds like a lot of Arnold movies.
It does. That's true.
The Terminator?
No, was it the Terminator where he gets shot out of like a chair and then he chases people on the planet, and then you don't get to bail out. You die.
Okay.
I think it might have. No, it wasn't the Terminator. It was something else.
No.
Somebody knows. Somebody that's
And
watching
I
or
think
listening
it was a
knows.
Stallone movie. I think you're getting it confused.
Maybe. Anyway, so that was pretty cool that we watched, and I wanted to be a defender on that show. How do you get to be the defender? Like maybe you lose 30 pounds or something.
You have to have a lot of physical prowess.
Yeah.
And clearly you have to be
in shape.
High up in the obstacle course racing group because most
of
them were.
They were quoting the Spartan race, and I don't know if they quoted the Tough Mudder, but definitely the Spartan race. So it's almost like Spartan was part of that.
Yeah.
So anyway, we appreciate you all tuning in. Megan Heil, who will probably be on the council next year at some point when she runs.
Yep.
And there's no turning back now, dear. The worm is out of the bottle, as they say somewhere, right?
Listen, she gets to make her own decision without you putting undue pressure on her.
Dear, do you think that Joe Biden made his own decision? No, people forced him to run. I mean, the guy's a creeper. Sniffs everybody's hair. I mean, how does he get to be the front runner now by like 20 points? But anyway, so people put pressure on you to run for politics because they think that you're going to be good. She's going to be good. So anything else you want to talk about before we go?
Nope.
Are we good? You didn't have anything fun and exciting happen to you all week long. It's always got to be about me.
I've had lots of but you bring all the wonderful content, and then I just play off of it.
Well, you didn't let me say what I was going to say to your dad. I almost forgot about it. He types in on the Facebook page, what's the easiest way to listen to this show? Okay. Well, Daddy, you get on your phone. Does he have a modern-day phone, or is he still doing a flip phone?
Nope.
You download our app. The Beach Talk Radio app is free. So now you have the app on your phone, and every time the show starts, you click the app. You don't have to watch it on Facebook, but I know you want to see your pretty daughter on Facebook or YouTube. There she is.
And we want to remember that Jillian has a birthday coming up on Monday.
That's right, 22 years old on Monday, May the 20th. That's our daughter. Yes, she's living in Chattanooga right there. But thank you all for joining us, and we'll be back next week with another slate of fun and exciting guests and other stuff and assorted stuff. And you're going to dance it out today, or are we good? Right. Oh, thanks again to Nikki and Ed for sponsoring us. I had the sponsored thing in the perfect spot, but it's so damn sunny on the beach. I got a glare. All right, everybody. Thank you all. Have a nice weekend, and whatever you're doing, have fun at it. Bye. Today.